everybody. I'm Lisa Redding. I'm the Dean for grades 9 and 11. And this is our course selection meeting with our curriculum coordinators. Missing 2, they'll be here shortly. And first, I really want to thank them for being here this morning. Normally, this is an evening event, but seeing that contracts have not been finalized yet, they've agreed to do it during the work day. So that's been a great help, and we really appreciate that. And thank you guys for coming. So I also want to thank Diane, Earlene, and Jessica, who are here. Stand up for a second, just in case you don't know your PTO reps. They are amazing, awesome, and and working to make all good things happen for our 9th graders, soon to be 10th graders. Do you want to say anything? Yeah. So Thursday night we also have another meeting hosted by Dean Alexander. Curriculum coordinators will not be there, but that's for anybody who can't. I'm kind of talking to the camera right now because that's for anyone who can't make it here this morning. We'll talk and clarify on Thursday evening here at 7 o'clock anything about course selection, the process, which I've also put here on the front page. So any questions for Thursday? If you leave here with all of your questions answered, then you're free Thursday night. Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, so thank you to Big, who's in the back, taping this, and it will be online on the PTO website in a matter of hours after this is over. So if you miss anything and want to go back and look, and for those who aren't here this morning, they can take a look at that. So the curriculum coordinators will introduce themselves, say something about the graduation requirements for their course, talk about course options for 10th graders, and then answer any questions you have about the courses specifically. And we're keeping in mind this is the work day, so the curriculum coordinators will be leaving after they're done to go do what they do, okay? Also, before we get started, I'd like to introduce our permanent headmaster, Anthony Meyer.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you to our PTO 9th grade reps for helping organize this, and I think really thinking about the idea of using BIG to make sure that we can connect with families who couldn't be here today. So, and huge thanks to the curriculum coordinators. Let's hear them do their thing.
All right. Yes,
all right. I am Ms. Alvarola, and I'm the coordinator for World Languages at Brooklyn High School. Raise your hand if you were at last year's presentation when you were parents of 8th graders going into 9th grade. All right, so let's see if you have long-term memory. I gave you a quiz that day. So, how many years do you need to graduate from the high school in terms of world language credit? How many years? 2 years. 2 years. How many years do most colleges like to see? 3 years. You remember that I was with And how many years do most students take of a world language? 4. Excellent. And how many languages do we have? 5. Excellent. All right. So, basically, my speech is the same from year to year to year, except that now if your child hasn't been taking a language as a freshman, they really need to make sure it's in their schedule now, because now they have 3 more years to make sure that they have at least those years that a lot of colleges look for when they apply. They most typically probably will continue with what they're doing now, and then their teacher of the language, in conjunction with your child, will make a recommendation, and I will strongly suggest that you follow that because they have lots of experience here on what's best for your child. They know they've been with your child for a whole year now and have a sense of where they can stretch and where they might need extra help. Around this time, they sit down with many students and discuss that. And if someone is ready to make a jump to stretch into a higher level, then they will give them a packet of information. We call it an action plan, and they go observe the class of the peers that they would have been with if they had been in that level. They're given some extra material in case there's some gaps between where they were and the next level. And then we sit down with them a few times between now and June to make sure they're following up on it. And by the end of June, we give them a abbreviated assessment to see, okay, yes, absolutely, this was the right idea, or you know what, it's better if you stay in the level you are, this is where you're going to be more successful. And in some cases, here are 3 things you really want to brush up on over the summer, but mostly you're good to go. So that's a few students. Some students will choose, maybe they tried a different language and it was not exactly the experience they wanted, and so some of them may decide to switch to another language. If it's something that is studied in the past, and so if there is a little bit of a gap in instruction, then I would recommend that they come see me, so we find out what they might need to brush up on so they get back to where they were. If they're starting a new language, then they can take any language at a beginning level, and they'll get at least 3 years, which is a fair amount of years to be able to develop some proficiency. And we have a World Language Support Center that meets 5 times a week at different times, typically either before school or right after school. And you'll find in your packet the times and the place. It can be a drop-in, or it can be a recommendation from their teacher. They might say something like, I think you might be able to do this, or you might be more successful if you went to the World Language Support Center once a week, twice a week, or something like that. If they're not studying French, so it's mostly for French and Spanish, the World Language Support Center, but the other teachers, like teacher of Chinese is in room 200 almost every day for help. Same with Japanese and Latin, we can always find ways to chat in that language. And if there are some questions of heritage language, maybe your child has some outside experience in a language, then again, have your child come and make an appointment with me. And yesterday I placed 6 students, next week probably about 10. So this is a time where I meet with a lot of individual students and help them figure out their placement if they don't know what it would be. So, okay, do you have any questions?
Is it in the ELS student? How does the requirement for languages work?
That's a great question. So ELL, one of the credit will come for English, and then one of the credit will come for world language.
Okay.
Now we have sometimes some students, particularly ELL 3 students, who decide to also add another language. And that's a question for the counselor whether or not they could meet all their other requirements, the electives, help 3 years of electives, and everything else within their 4 years here. Okay. All right. Well, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to go teach my class and pass the baton to Mary Birchenall. Bye. See you next year. Same quiz.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Hi, everyone in TV land. I am 10 pounds thinner than I look on TV. That clear. So I appreciate it. I'm going to be pretty quick because I also have to run off and teach my class first period. One choice your children do not have is whether to take English or not. They must take English all 4 years, so that's easy. 10th grade is our world literature year. So freshman year is sort of introduction to everything, to study of literature at the high school. And they went through, lots of different genres and lots of different kinds of assignments just to see, like, what is it like to have English at the high school. 10th grade, we focus on world literature, looking both outside and inside. Where are our cultures different, and where do we find our common humanity? So that's what 10th grade is about. It's also the toolkit year where we really zero in on reading and writing skills to make sure they have those under their belt for junior and senior year ahead. There's a focus on figurative language in sophomore year because students' brains are developing and are much more able to do that sort of abstract thinking as they're getting older than they were in the younger years. So it's a good time to really focus on things like figurative language. So we'll be doing that in 10th grade as well. There'll be lots of writing, both personal writing and analytic writing, in any course that they take. And there will be a challenge in any course that they take. So let me discuss the choices. There's what I'm going to, just for the sake of simplicity, call regular flavor world literature, which which is all we offered for many, many years. And it was just a handful of years ago that we added two other options. So there's regular flavor World Literature Standard, and there's regular flavor World Literature Honors. And those are, relatively traditional courses, excellent courses, where they focus on reading and writing, as I said, and read literature from around the world. Then there are two additional courses, not the regular flavor, special flavors. One is Future World Lit, and one is Real World Lit. And both of those classes are offered at both standard and honors level, but within the same class, which is not the case for the original flavor. Those are, standard is separate, honors is separate in those flavors. But in Real World Lit and Future World Lit, it's a multi-leveled class, so all students are together. It's a wonderful opportunity for students who are really, when they read those course descriptions, it really speaks to them. Like, I want to read dystopian literature. That's my thing. And it's a great course for those kids. Or Real World. If you hear a complaint from your student that, English is just not related to my life at all, then Real World Literature might really be the place to go. So if those descriptions speak to them, or they would like to experiment with, maybe they're really on the cusp, they feel sort of in the middle between standard and honors, and they want to be in a place where it might be a little easier to change levels, because it is easier to change levels within this section. You don't have to change your whole schedule to do it. So it's a nice place for that, for kids who might be thinking about moving, if they're standard now, or they want to pick standard next year, but are thinking of moving ahead in the future. The multi-level courses are a good place to be. But again, it's a good place for any kid who wants to challenge themselves. There's more independence in that course, more choice of individual projects and reading. So students have more choices of directing their learning in those two somewhat less traditional courses. So I think this is all laid out in your packet. Do you have, what have I missed? What do you have questions? Yes?
Yes, so in this English 2120, you kind of outline specific authors they are going to read. Are they going to read those authors also in the other levels?
These are reduced, I should make this clear, these are reduced descriptions of the courses to fit on a page. If you go in the catalog, there's much more complete descriptions, and in front of the sophomore program, there's a whole list of books for the courses that you can find there. The core books that everybody reads in sophomore year. So there is a core curriculum sophomore year, no matter which of these courses you take. They read Things Fall Apart, they read a Shakespeare play, either Macbeth or Othello, and they read a short story book called World Writers Today that exposes them to stories from lots of different places around the world. But you'll find a more complete book list in the catalog. Yes?
Can you just speak briefly to how the mixed level works in terms of the teacher say, okay, if you're a standard student, this is your assignment. If you're an honors, how does that differentiated learning work in terms of assignments and the expectations for the kids?
That's a great question, and I would say there's a combination of different things that go on. Sometimes, for example, for independent reading, students who are at the honors level will be required to read more pages and finish more books during the course of the year. When they use rubrics for writing assignments, the honors level, it's harder to get an A. You have to meet further up on the rubric than the standard level. And there will be certain assignments that might have, like, if you're taking this for honors credit, you need to do this extra piece. So I would say there's a mixture of different things. But what I will say is that you don't go into the class and say, all right, the standard student's over here and the honors student's over here. That never happens, right? So, and in fact, the teachers will tell you in that class, you would not know from being in the class who was an honors student and who was a standard level student. The kids often do not know who's taking it for what credit. I really feel strongly that it's a great model. It provides a service to many students at all ranges of learning at high school. Yeah?
You've offered this already last year, is that?
Yes. So this is, I think it's 4th or 5th year.
I'm just curious what the breakdown is. Like, what's the percentage of kids who do each section?
It's changed between last year and this year. I think there are more students who choose the flavors than choose the regular, the standard. Not standard, the original flavor. So I think there are maybe 3 sections of Honors World Lit. There's maybe 5 sections of Future World Lit. 4 sections of real world lit and 2 sections of world lit standard.
And if you want, you can,
Don't hold me on all of those.
or whatever you want to take, you can take. It's not like they'll be restricted. So
No, unless they are asked to pick a second choice when they go in the portal for their electives, but for sophomore year, they almost always get their first choice, so it's not really a big worry.
Jen, was your question that, or was it within classes? What was the general grade?
No, I
Oh.
meant, I was just curious how many kids take a flavor course.
Great, okay.
Another question.
Yeah.
Well, they've been with their English teacher for a year. That'd be a good idea if they discuss with their English teacher who should know them really intimately about the level they are and to
Thank you for
help
asking
them
that,
to choose.
that question. I do not want to make you feel like you have to choose what level for your child. Really, your English teacher is going to be discussing this choice with all the 9th grade students, because they know this is the first time they're choosing their courses. So the English teacher will have the best idea, and they will put a recommendation into the computer, but after discussion with student about what their preferences are. So the level choice will be really guided by the teacher. However, you have a chance to override recommendations by the teacher if you so choose later on in the year. That's on your timeline in front.
So when are these discussions with students going to happen? Or is
They're
it-
happening now. Most of them are happening this week.
I think we got.
I got to run to class, but my email is on there. Yeah, let me take a couple more questions and then. But I welcome whoever. Yes.
What ways will we know the recommendations of the teachers, apart from talking to our own students?
That's a good question. They go.
They'll see it in the portal, so the teacher will say, I strongly recommend with reservations, you'll see it.
Yes.
As of universities, what look the best from the 3 choices on the transcript for universities? Sorry, I'm a junior. I'm a mom of a junior also.
I think what looks the best is that the student has been able to pursue what they're most passionate about and most interested in.
The 3 of them are the same level.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, could you tell us how Sagamore fits into the regular curriculum?
How what fits in?
Sagamore?
Oh, the Sagamore. Sagamore does not count for regular English credit. It counts as elective and CTE credit, career and tech ed credit. It's a wonderful option. It's an application course, so thank you for bringing that up. So if students are interested in working for the newspaper and learning journalism, it's an addition, it's something that they apply for, and they will get information about that in their classes, and they will then, if they are accepted into the course, it gets put on there.
It happens in the English class. It's not a completely separate electives.
They will probably get information about it. They will get information about it in their English class, but it is not technically an English course, although it's taught by English teachers, if that makes any sense.
So it doesn't replace one of the
It
classes?
does not replace English.
Thank you,
All
Mary.
right, thank you, everybody.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Josh Paris. I'm chair of the math department, so we'll talk about some math options on the back page here if you want to follow along. It's interesting, I never really thought about this before, but I could say a lot of similar things about our math program that Ms. Birchinall just talked about English, in the sense that in 9th year, although all of our students are taking geometry, it's really a mix of geometry and algebra and statistics, so we're working on a lot of different things, a lot of different types of reasoning and mathematical developments in 9th grade as the students get used to what high school math looks like. Then in 10th grade, we zero in and we focus on Algebra 2. And then Mary also mentioned that 10th grade is also a toolkit year, and I would say the same thing again for math, in that Algebra 2 really is the foundational course in high school math and beyond. Your students began studying algebra in middle school and continue it in 9th grade, but really 10th grade is all algebra, heavy algebra, really helping students develop their algebraic manipulation skills and their algebraic reasoning. And so that's what we do in 10th grade. So I thought that was an interesting connection. So yeah, basically, there's a few things I want to talk about, but basically 10th grade is Algebra 2, and the majority of students will continue on in the same level. We have 3 levels, college prep, honors, and advanced. And as Ms. Birchnall also said, our teachers are talking with students now about all of these options and about the possibility of moving up or down levels. If a student wants to move up a level, they should make sure they're having that conversation with their teacher, and who will then send them to me. For the most part, the curricula in 9th grade match up. If you want to go from college prep to honors, there's no additional work needed. The curricula are exactly the same. In advance, we do one extra short unit on quadratics at the end of the year. It's just a kind of a 6-day unit, and if you're in honors and want to go up to advanced, I have all of the documents from advanced that I have given to the teachers, or I could give to your student, and they need to work through that over the summer, or better, during the school year, because they can come to the math center, which we have every morning before school, and get help from a teacher to do that. So it's not a whole lot of work, it's just a little bit, but they really need to do that in order to get ready to move up to advanced in 10th grade. Okay, then, we do have another option starting in 10th grade, which is called IMP, which is the Interactive Math Program. And this is an alternative program that starts in grade 10 and goes all the way through grade 12. So we start in, it's called IMP 2, honors, and then 3 honors and 4 honors. It traditionally has been a 4-year program, but many years ago we cut the freshman year because we didn't find it relevant and are jumping right into year 2, which is why it's called IMP 2. IMP is a unit-based curriculum in which each unit has a central theme or a central problem that students need to figure out. And through these 6-week units, they do smaller problems and smaller investigations to help them understand the theme or solve the unit problem. Whereas in our regular courses, we have maybe 9, 10 units a year. IMP has 4 or 5, so these are much longer units. The students, there's less direct instruction in IMP. The students generally work collaboratively with their peers in developing their understanding of these problems that I talked about. They make presentations, so it's very much the students working together, and the teacher's kind of like a coach, kind of zooming around, and when they see things, they're like, all right, you table, you're responsible for this, and they have them present to the class. They review homework that way as well. They assign each table. You're going to do number 1, you're going to do number 2, you're going to do number 3, work it out, and then have one student present. So the students, it's really heavily based on mathematical communication, both orally or verbally and in writing. They do portfolios at the end of each unit, where they kind of summarize what they've learned in that unit. They do POWs, which stand for Problems of the Week, in which these are open-ended mathematical investigations that students have a lot of time to kind of work through, not necessarily with the goal of solving them all, but just with exploring. So it's a very exploratory math program. And then they write their results at the end of that. And that's a big part of the grade. So there's more emphasis, like I said, on collaboration, on problem solving, on writing, on communication, than on testing. So there are tests in the course, but they have a lot lower weight in terms of the grade, as do our other normal flavor, regular flavor math courses. So that's that. You can, again, there's a description of this on the back of this program, and there's also, it talks more about it in the course catalog. You can see what units we do. I should say that by the end of grade 12, the math they cover is the same. Right? It doesn't match up year by year because it IMP kind of circulates very nicely, but by the end of the 3rd year in the program, they've done the same math basically that we do in the regular flavor courses, and it certainly prepares students for all of the standardized testing that they need to do in high school. One other thing I want to mention before opening the field up to questions is we're very excited. We have 2 new kind of math electives starting next year, which are on computer programming. So they're listed on the bottom here. They're 2 half-year courses. The first course introduces students to computer programming who have no experience in it, and that uses the SNAP language, which is a block-based computer programming language. And then the second semester teaches Python. So students can take both of those, which we'd like them to do, or if they have some experience in computer programming, they can jump to just take the second semester Python course. These are going to be taught by math teachers, and they can be taken for math credit if needed, or for elective credit. So the majority of students probably want to take, it's the same course, but probably want to take it for elective credit, because students, generally get their math credit through our regular math courses, and they don't need an extra math credit. I think it's harder sometimes to get those elective credits. So they can get their career and tech ed credit with these courses as well. Which reminds me, for math credits, just quickly, you need 3 math credits to graduate from high school. The majority of students take 4 years of math. And you do need 4 years of math to go to a state school in Massachusetts, like UMass or any of the community colleges. So that's what I have. Any questions? What questions you have? Yes.
Will teachers make recommendations about the IMP program? Is that student kind of led? What's the kind of general way in which a student kind of makes that choice?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of organic. So we have the teachers who teach IMP, along with their students, have been going to all of the 9th grade, or many of the 9th grade classes, and making presentations so that the students are kind of aware of what that program is like. We also, in the honors classes, taught a kind of a short unit using the IMP pedagogy so students could get a sense of what it was like. So through that process, they're getting an idea about what IMP is like. And then it's a mix of student interest and teacher interest. I teach advanced this year, but I taught honors last year, and there were a few students who I thought IMP would be really good for, and I sought them out and said, if you thought about IMP, I think it would be really good for you. It would be a really good fit, and some students did it and some didn't. And then also some students came to me and said, what do you think? Would IMP be a good fit? And sometimes I would say, oh, I hadn't thought of it, but why are you interested? Let's talk about it. And yeah, that sounds good. And sometimes I would say, kind of no. There are students I've seen who they want the teacher to be explaining them lots of things. They don't feel comfortable talking in front of groups. They don't feel comfortable collaborating. That's not a good fit for IMP. So it's kind of an organic process.
Helpful, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
How does IMP match up with, let's say, AP? If you want to take AP test later, does IMP match up with that?
Yeah, you can. You can take along with IMP4. You could take an AP calculus course or an AP statistics course. You would want to do both of them at the same time. Some students get to senior year and they say, oh, I want to take AP Calc instead of IMP4, and we can't stop them from doing it, but they're not completing the cycle of the units, and so it's not such a great idea. But they could do calculus in conjunction with that as a second math course, or certainly statistics, which is statistics as well.
So you have the option of moving out of IMP after you did it for a year?
They could, yeah. After, yeah, you can go into IMP in 10th grade, and then didn't really work out. Come back into our regular flavored courses without any trouble. And also, you can go in as a junior as well. So in terms of the curriculum, it works out okay. I wouldn't start in grade 12 I've done regular math, and then all of a sudden I want to do IMP in grade 12. That's not going to work. So you can go in and out after 1 year pretty easily. After that, not so much. We'll go there.
How long has the IMP program been in place, and do you have any assessment of how students are doing in terms of learning what they need to do and performing standardized
Yeah.
as well?
Yes, we do. IMP started, I think, in the early 80s or so. It started out in California, and then kind of migrated across the country, and we adopted it here, I think, in the early 90s. So it's been here for a long time, and we've kind of modified it as it's gone along. As you can see, it's all honors now, which is different than when it started, because we found that the level of math increases as we go along. You need a certain amount of, you need to develop mathematically along with that. And we found the honors level suited that better. There's a ton of data from IMP that show that students do just as well on SATs, on the MCAS, as do students not in IMP.
honor level IMP2 versus the advanced level math, the students can move pretty easily.
Say that again?
So like compared to the advanced math and then versus the IMP2 honor level, are they the similar level?
Well, advanced is a higher level. Did you mean the
Yeah. Now you answer that question.
Okay.
The advanced level versus IMP honor level, I
Yeah.
wonder if it's very similar. Or
No, the advanced moves. The advanced, the pace is quicker. The level of algebraic manipulation and algebraic challenge is higher than it is in
So
IMP.
if kids are comfortable with advanced math, they should stay in advanced math.
I would say yeah.
Preparation for PSATs and SATs, how does that all work? Do kids take a separate course to do that, or?
We teach all the math that's needed for the PSATs and the SATs in our math courses. So in terms of the math content, they're all ready to go. We don't do separate test prep.
Oh, okay. I guess that answers my question.
Yeah.
Because taking those tests can be sometimes challenging, even if you understand the material.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It says here that the majority, like according to this chart, the majority of students who, for example, now take geometry standard is recommended for algebra standard. So that means then that these IMP2 classes presumably are fairly small. It's, right?
Yeah, the IMP. Yeah, we have one section of IMP2 honors this year. We had 2 last year.
And then it also says that students should plan to remain in IMP through, grades 10 to 12.
Yes.
So it's not a good idea if someone wanted to maybe try it out in 10th grade and then discovers, this is not for me.
Yeah, you can. Sorry, you can do it. Not the best idea. So if they get into IMP after a month and it's like this isn't working out, they should switch at that point and not stay out the whole year. Can you do it? Sure. We recommend that you don't. It's a 3-year program.
Yeah, I think what Josh said, sorry, is that kids find out pretty quickly within the first month that it's for them or it's not. And they can change, and they'll change that, not wait the whole year.
What kinds of students do you generally think do best with IMP?
So I think that's a really good question. I think students who really want to kind of explore math on their own, feel comfortable doing that, feel comfortable working with their peers, sharing ideas, taking in ideas from their peers, who don't, really need the teacher to be imparting information to them, do really well. Also, students who are comfortable talking in front of a group of peers because they do a lot of that. So they need to be comfortable standing up in front of a group of people and sharing their ideas, even if they're not always so sure how correct they are. So those types of students do really well. And also, I should say, students who there's some students who feel like they understand things and then don't do well on tests. So in conjunction with what I just said, that type of student might have more success in IMP too, in IMP.
So are you saying IMP is less test-based?
Yes.
Great.
All right, one more question.
Is the workload similar for IMP as it is for honors level?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
How
All right,
do
last.
colleges look at the IMP compared to your honors program?
I think they look very kindly on them. I think they see students coming out of IMP as being, when I see seniors who have gone through IMP, I'm always impressed at how comfortable they are speaking publicly and communicating their ideas publicly because they do so much of it, and I think colleges see that.
How do colleges grade it, look at it? So here's a student who's taken AP 4 years, here's a student who's taken IMP, where do you rank?
Well, we don't
It's
have
all about
AP
ranking, right?
4 years.
3 years of IMP, how does it compare to when you apply for college? Oh, I took 4 years of AP, and I took 1 year of honors and 3 years of IMP. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I can't speak for what colleges look at, but it's a very well-respected program. We attach to students transcripts, a description of IMP to make sure that colleges are aware of what what it's all about. Because maybe not all of the college counselors are. So I think they look very favorably on on the students in that program. All right, thank you. If you have any other questions, my email's on here, and feel free to give me, or I guess it's not on here, but you can find my email. And give me a call or send me an email, and I'll be happy to talk with you more about it. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Gary Schiffman. I'm head of the Social Studies Department, and I'm going to be really boring because sophomore year in history and social studies looks a lot like freshman year. We have only the regular flavors to offer. Makes it simple. I will describe a couple of optional courses, and let me do those first. Rising sophomores have two options beyond the regular required. I wrote you a letter. It's the second last one. Beyond the required Modern World History course, which all sophomores will take at even the standard honors level, we offer two additional courses that you can apply for. What's been going on in our classes, I hope, for the last couple of weeks of school, is that teachers of specialized courses like IMP and like racial awareness and social and global leadership have been going around to freshman classes and saying, hey, next year in addition to world history, or instead of your regular flavor of English or math, you could try this other thing. So we've actually been shopping our classes around to your kids. Has anybody heard anything about that at all? I know that teenagers, they don't talk generally, but
Global leadership.
global leadership, good.
Yeah.
So you heard about the pitch,
Yeah.
and your kid applied for it?
She's applying, yes.
Fantastic. Deadline is 2/28, that's today. Just so you know. So we've been trying to tell freshmen, you have some choices to make. You can apply for special courses. So let me describe the two for social studies. Global leadership is a course that meets 4 days a week. It's a regular course. It counts for credit, but not for the required social studies credit. You need to take world history next year. Everybody does that. But in addition, you can take this global leadership course. It's a wonderful course that prepares kids to interact with the adult world on issues of global concern. The teacher of the course, Mr. Carl, is very committed to the subject, has deep roots and background in particularly in the world of international public health. He's on the board of Pathfinder International, which is a global development agency, and he introduces kids to how adults think about issues of economic development, of political development, of civic engagement across borders. He has kids do crazy things like they have $1 million to spend. It's not real money. They have $1 million to spend to reduce the HIV infection rate in a part of East Africa. And they have to make a pitch. They can't do it in the classroom. They have to go somewhere else and Skype it in. Because sometimes that happens. And you'll see kids running all over the building. Where are you going? I got to pitch $1 million proposal. They're looking for a place to Skype from. Lots of public speaking, like IMP math, lots of public presentations, lots of weight on the students. But it's an additional course. The homework load is very light. Kids report enormous satisfaction with that class. If your kid sounds like the kind of kid who would really love that, application is due today. They should already know. They've heard from Mr. Carl, and they've heard from their teachers. Question?
What time is the application due?
We'll wait for you. Go ahead. End of the day.
Okay.
Dean Alexander.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm so sorry. We put that the applications were due next Monday. Is
Yes,
that
that's
true?
our deadline.
I see.
Right, let's take a moment to correct that. On your timeline, that's the internal deadline for teachers of those courses to select their rosters and communicate them, which is why the deadline has to be for today, so that they can review all the applications. The most important thing about the application, this is not applying to college. If you can't get the application together, you're not ready to be a global leader. So make sure it's complete. It's really, can you do everything on that list? Good for you. Okay? It's an SAT test. But there are kids who can't do it, and we know they're not ready. That's okay. They can take global leadership the following year. They're still eligible. They're not mature enough yet. That's okay. Yes.
I got the ELL history class. Does she apply this?
Absolutely. Global leadership is open to, and I hope Ms. Bueller or Mr. Bueller has said something about global leadership.
Yeah.
You heard of it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love that. So yes, that course is open to 10th through 12th graders.
And it's the same class every year?
Yes, mixed grade level.
Okay.
Like all of our elective classes, mixed grade level classes.
And it's a year-long course?
And it's a year-long class, means 4 days a week. Regular class, regular credit, not social studies credit. Yes.
So, sorry if I missed, so is this in addition to the replica? So
Correct.
when would they have time to take this? So I would go
So it would be a little bit like taking journalism in addition to English. However, journalism you can get credit for elective. We cannot currently give credit for global leadership. Students who take global leadership get a generic credit toward graduation. They all graduate. I've never heard of a kid taking global leadership and then coming back for a 5th year. But it does not fulfill any of the standard requirements.
I was just wondering when are those classes, when do they meet?
Well, they mean the regular school day.
There's 7
Regular
blocks.
school.
There's 7 blocks. There's room.
Our graduation requirements do not exhaust the time available to take classes. So if you take a full load for 4 years, you've got plenty of credits for everything. The other course that is available, and this is a sophomore-only class, it meets twice a week. It's a half-credit class. Again, light homework, intense conversation, is a course called Racial Awareness. It was invented by and is taught by Mr. Cawthorn and Ms. Leslie, who are extraordinary teachers. It's an intense experience for kids where they learn to talk productively about race in America with themselves as case studies. And Ms. Leslie and Mr. Cawthorn have done a wonderful job creating a curriculum for that class. Has anybody heard about that pitch on the kitchen table? So that application is also due today. Again, it's simply a matter of, it's okay if you hear nothing. I have 2 daughters. One of them is a junior at this high school, one of them graduated from this high school, and I have no idea what either of them has experienced. Anyway, that application, again, just complete the application and submit it. It's not meant to be hard, it's just meant to test, do you really want to do this? That's all. Yes?
Just to that, I haven't heard about any of this at all.
It doesn't mean your child has it.
No, I know, but sometimes it's good for the parents to talk about the opportunities with them. And so the fact that the deadline is today, for example, I have to.
Exactly.
It would be nice to have the opportunities
That's
for them to apply, just to make sure that they really understood.
That's fair. I should have blasted you with, or asked Anthony to blast you in you get the Sunday PTO updates. I should have put that in there. We'll also say that, yes, I should have my bad. These courses are for students who are genuinely interested, and the only thing I will say, the only thing that makes me reluctant is we don't want kids in these classes whose parents want to take them. And there are many of us who would like to take these classes, and it doesn't mean our kids want to.
Right.
That's all. Yes?
The email says recommend for mostly for junior and senior is global leadership class.
For social justice, that is exclusively, we have another course I'll tell you about next year. Social justice is only for juniors and seniors. Global leadership, there are plenty of sophomores in that class. They do very well in that class. Not a problem. Regular courses are an extension of the narrative we began with your students this year. This year we told, I hope, we are in the process of having your kids learn the story of the pre-modern world, from classical civilizations in China and India, origins of Christianity, origins of Islam, through the global Middle Ages, rise of trade, and the development of a new model of society in Europe associated with the rise of the nation state and the Enlightenment. Next year, we begin with some crazy people trying to put the Enlightenment into action in an age of revolutions. Let's try to organize society around the idea that all people are equal. We'll see how that goes. The fact that it's not going that well makes for an interesting course. It's always a bright side. So, we actually, last summer, we devised a new unit for the end of the 10th grade Modern World History course. That unit is called Enlightenment on Trial. Remember, this was last summer, so we're on top of it. So, the story next year is the beginning of the Enlightenment to the Enlightenment on Trial. Learn about all kinds of things going on in the world. The rise and decline of communist regimes, and the 20th century will take a long time to explain, but we'll explain to your kids. Like this year, research paper every year, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. I hope your kid tells you that they're suffering with a research paper very soon in their 9th grade course, and that they'll be ready to do it in the 10th grade too. We instituted this requirement, I think that's 7 years ago. Made it uniform expectation. Every required course in social studies requires the research paper, because we believe, teaching is only as real as the assessment you declare you value and actually weigh. Give kids serious feedback on. If you don't assess it, it's not real. And rather than give them a test that says, all of your learning amounts to this test, here's a 96 or here's a 66. We want them to master, over time, the ability to conduct a project on a topic of their own interest. Because life is full of that. And if they can do that, one day they'll assign themselves, I give the speech to the kids, One day you'll assign yourself your research project because you care. It doesn't matter what a teacher says to you, an adult says to you. You'll say to yourself, I want to know about this, and we want you to know how. So that's why we do that. There's a lot of national teams, there's lots of parts, there's lots of project management, which is very hard for some kids. I am in room 388 every Monday and Thursday, every week, offering help on the research paper and anything else related to social studies. The librarians are all in on this project. They will help your kid when they come home and say, I don't know how to find sources, I don't know what I found, I don't know how to make an argument. Teachers are, of course, working on this in class. They will continue to do that next year as well. There's lots of auxiliary help. Please ask your kids to ask for that help. It's there. Questions? Social studies. Successfully talking is a mission. Fantastic, thank you. My email is on the list, and it is correct. And so if you have any questions, call Josh Paris. No. Thank you.
Hello, good to see you all. I'm Ed Weiser, head of the science department. My email is not on the bottom there because it didn't fit. There's a lot of information on this letter that I've sent out. So what I'd like to do right now is refresh you about the sequence that we do in science at Brookline High, talk about the differences between the courses that we have, and some of the nuances of some of the options there, and then talk about some of the other options that we have beginning with sophomore year as well. So our sequence, as you know, your child is in physics, they go into chemistry as a 10th grader. 11th grade is biology, and then we have a whole host of optional courses for seniors. At chemistry, we build on the topics of physics, go on into, use the ideas of electricity, magnetism, force, and help kids understand how atoms bond together in a much more efficient way than we used to when chemistry just came right after Earth, space, oceans. So that's the reason why we do that sequence. Now, and also biology has a lot of chemistry in it. So instead of teaching chemistry for 3 weeks and the beginning of biology, they have a whole year of it before. So chemistry comes in 3 different courses. Chemistry 1, Chemistry 1 Honor, Chemistry LBC Honor. Chemistry LBC, the LBC stands for Living by Chemistry. It's a textbook that we've been using for many years. And the hard part about this is we actually don't use that textbook all that much in the course. We just haven't figured out a better name for it. It's a great way to teach chemistry, and the best units that we've from LBC have been placed in Chemistry 1 and Chemistry 1 Honor. So it's a weird place for us to be. We don't really know what else to call it, but we do hang our hat on the LBC moniker. Chemistry 1 is at the standard level. It is a college preparatory course in chemistry. Everything a student needs to know about chemistry is taught in Chemistry 1. It's a solid course. Kids have a very good understanding of chemistry, and they can apply it to any of the levels of biology in the junior year. Chemistry 1 Honor is it's faster paced. There's more math involved in it, and it rushes through it. For kids who are very familiar with the way we're teaching physics right now, it will be a little bit more of a traditionally taught course. It will seem like there's a bit more of what I'm doing now with the teacher in the front, students listening in the back, but there are many discussions and opportunities for kids to problem solve together. Chemistry LBC Honor is taught in a bit more like the way that they're being taught in Physics 1 Honor right now and Physics 1 Standard right now. Because there's a lot of activity with the students interacting with each other in small groups and larger groups, and presenting their ideas and experimenting along the way. And Chemistry LBC, more of the labs are taught in the classroom with smaller amounts of chemicals. So imagine this. The teacher introduces the class, there's something for the students to do now. In a little bit, they get little well plates where they just drop in some chemicals. They make observations, they clean up, and then they consolidate their knowledge right then and there. Whereas in Chemistry 1 Honor, we tend to go to the chemistry labs and perform labs from the beginning of the class to the end of the class. So the students will hear, and this is the thing that I have a lot of trouble helping people understand, that LBC is the lab-based chemistry. It's not the case. The L stands for Living by Chemistry, it's the textbook. But in all of the classes, labs are done, they're just done in different ways. So it's a pedagogical difference between the LBC Honor and the Chemistry 1 Honor. So my best advice for you is to take a look at what the course recommendation is from the teacher. There should be some comments. The comment most likely will be, what is it, highly recommended for the course?
Recommended with confidence.
Thank you, recommended with confidence. I knew it was that specific. And so if it's recommended with confidence and you're thinking, oh, well, why is my child recommended with confidence in this class? If there's a discussion to be had there, then that's the time to talk to the child and say, okay, let's figure this one out and see if we agree with this match. And I think the timeline is from middle March to April 4th is the deadline for parents to request a level change for academic courses. And that will be a good time for you to bounce ideas off of the teacher or from me about what the specific course is. Hopefully that's helpful right there. Now some of the nuance. If your child is thinking of going into SWS chemistry is essentially Chemistry 1 honor taught by a fabulous teacher sitting right there. I see the picture. It's essentially Chemistry 1 honor, but the preponderance of the kids in the room are within the SWS community. Okay, so that's a nuance if your child is thinking about doing that. Another thing, some students want to take summer school in chemistry in order to get ahead and to do whatever they have to do. It's a terrible idea. It never works out as well as everybody thinks it should. So my best advice for summer activities in science is to find a program that is completely outside of the norm for a science class in high school. We are starting to do more with robotics and engineering, but students have done great things in math with like game theory, or they've taken a course on fluid dynamics or something really, really outside and specific, or they've just made their own experiments and had a good time with it. Those are the types of things that students should be playing with over the summer, because during the summer, you just can't get the full experience. Summer school is the place to go to fill in a gap if there's some other reason for the student. Students go on the China exchange to Xi'an, China. Mr. Lantos is also the program coordinator for that, and so you'll hear a bit more about that if you haven't already. For students who might take a semester in Ireland, a student's doing that right now. So those are the reasons to do summer school chemistry, not to get ahead. There's plenty of time for students to take many, many, many courses there, including the fact that we used to have an engineering course called Engineering by Design Honor that was exclusively for seniors. Some juniors would be able to do it, but it was 6 periods per week. It would fit like an AP science course that is now available to sophomores and juniors. It's an engineering course taught in the former auto tech shop. It's our blossoming makerspace. Then there's an additional engineering course after that you'll hear more about that is exclusively for seniors, and it's co-taught. Next year it'll be co-taught. Thank you to the 21st Century Fund for sponsoring it. Co-taught with an art teacher and an engineering teacher. So that will be for seniors, and as are all of the other AP sciences and all of our other optional courses like astronomy and a new one, environmental science and society, body, mind, and honor, anatomy and physiology. The list is too long for me to go through right now. One more thing before I forget, and then I'll open it up to questions. The difference between Chemistry 1 Honor and Chemistry LBC Honor is there is a video from the two chemistry teachers on the link to the Brookline High School Science website. It's not a polished video. We're having some students maybe make a better version of it, but it's just a free flow of ideas from the two teachers back and forth. And that's a great way to get their perspective on the differences between those two courses. I guess I'll open it up to any other questions that people might have. Yes?
It says that students in LBC Honor must be enrolled in Algebra 2. Does that mean they can't be an IMP and in LBC?
See, I hate that. Algebra 2, yeah. The math department, for crying out loud, they have so many different names. Algebra 2 is basically this. Algebra 1 in Brookline is taught in 8th grade. So students who are in geometry this year and going to be in algebra next year, that's what we mean by Algebra 2. IMP 2 honors would fit that bill without a problem.
website is open, like the teacher already put all the recommendation in?
The teachers will put all of the recommendations in by next week, Monday, or Tuesday, what's the 6th?
Yeah, we'll
I
talk
think it's
about
Monday.
that, Helen and I will say.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to see them there, but also they will be printed out, and that, did we send them home still?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will print them out and send them home as well.
And then the summer course, like the science engineering summer course will be also available soon.
The engineering course will be one of the electives that students can add themselves once the student portal opens up. But the summer courses aren't on the portal. The summer school is a completely separate process.
How many LBC sections are there?
Many, I forget.
Is it mostly LBC?
There are many Chemistry 1 honor classes and LBC honor. I think that we have 6 this year. Sometimes we have between 5 and 7 sections of Chemistry LBC honor.
And you get recommended for the honors?
Yeah. Because it goes to the student's learning style. Let me put it to you this way. If your student hates working in groups and you would like them to get a break out of their shell, Chemistry LBC honor might be a way for them to do that, but might not. It really depends on the kid. But there is a lot of group learning there.
Is it recommended by their physics teacher?
Yes. And many of the physics teachers are dual certified and teach both, and many of the chemistry teachers have gone into the physics rooms to help kids understand the differences as well. Yes?
When do we find out the teacher recommendations? Is that when the portal opens to students, or?
Yeah, we'll
I
go over
think
a
so.
little timeline in a
I
second.
think so, yeah. Are there any other questions, Mark? Great, thank you. Feel free to email me. I'm sorry I didn't put it down there, but it's ed_Weiser at blah, blah, blah. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. And welcome Dee Melanie Alexander, too. Thank you. So Melanie and I made this little timeline and frequently asked questions. And so about, I want to say like 5 years ago, our assistant headmaster, Hal Mason, thought to help with the communication between your student and parent on that whole recommendation piece. So now you will be able to see, if your son or daughter's math teacher is, strongly recommending or recommending with reservations. There's a whole slew of comments that the teachers can pick. They're stock comments, so they just kind of do that. And then one thing I want to point out is you see kind of the whole package. So the math teacher doesn't know what the social studies teacher is putting in. And social studies teacher doesn't know what the English teacher, they don't know. So they're really operating in isolation. You and your student get the whole picture, right? So you'll see, maybe every teacher recommended with confidence all advanced classes. Well, then you need to sit down with your student and really talk about that. Like, is that best for your student? Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm hoping you've heard us preach a million times about balance, not just academic balance, but life balance. We want our teachers and our administrators, our staff to live by that, and we also really want our students to live by that. Balance is key. So you're seeing all the information, and so you're gonna sit down with your student and decide on what the right balance is, what is good for your student. So you'll get all of that information on this timeline. So on next Tuesday, the portal is open for students to request electives. And if one of the frequently asked questions, we didn't number them out, on the back, how does my sophomore request electives? And so they have a username and password to get on the portal. I'm guessing they don't remember the password or username maybe, right? So they are to email. Here's the email address that they're gonna do like tonight. They're gonna email this address and say, what's my username and password?
You know what, I gotta just interject there?
Go ahead.
They need to include, I am Melanie Alexander, class of 2018, right? They need to please be specific about their first, last name, and their graduation date when they request that password.
And so they'll be putting in that information.
But
Go ahead.
parents' password won't work for
No, no. Yeah, they have their own. Yeah, they may have forgotten. They have their own. And teachers right now, like all the curriculum coordinators said, are having conversations with their students. They will then also put their recommendations in, and those are due, I believe, by also next week from the teachers. The 6th, that's Tuesday, Wednesday? Monday, that's due. And then you will see what the teachers recommended your students for by the following week. And then you have until the 4th of April to override a recommendation. If you don't do anything, then that schedule will be set. So if your student is recommended for honors math and you do nothing, they will be scheduled for honors math. Okay?
So just to, the period between the start when the portal opened and the end is really important. We all have busy lives, the kids and we do, and it's a 3-week period to really have that conversation, as Dean Benning is talking about, in terms of balance and really looking at the schedule. So please, have that conversation over, I don't know, when they're locked in the car or whatever, and also encourage, any of your colleagues or friends who are not here to please also have that conversation with their student.
Yeah, it's a good question. So students cannot choose what courses they take, but for those recommended, they can only choose electives.
Correct.
So all the others is default into what the teacher recommended.
Yes,
as
right.
parents.
Yes, exactly. Right, it's in your hands. So the academic courses will technically be scheduled by the teacher, the recommending teacher, and then you will either intervene or not.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, but there were so many choices in English. So does the current English teacher then also says, for example, when I recommend him or her versus Ethiopian?
Yeah, so the English teachers have the most difficult job where they are really sitting down with every student and deciding together, and then they will, the student's like, no, I really want future world lit, then that's what they're gonna get. That's what the teacher will plug in.
I see, and
Yeah.
I think now, you should use FS, then I can override.
Yeah.
How do the guidance counselors fit in? I mean, is it possible, probably this is an incredibly busy time, but is it possible to make an appointment with your kid's guidance counselor?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully they know who they are, the guidance counselor. And it's on the portal also, so if you know your parent portal password, all that information is there, but yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, can you clarify, sorry, when the portal is open to students to check their electives, can parents see the recommendations at that point or not until later? So in other words, when the kids are choosing their electives, will they and the parent know at that point what required classes they've been recommended for, or you're kind of making the elective decision first and then the recommended class decision second?
I don't think you're seeing the academic piece yet.
Okay, so they're just kind of in isolation choosing electives?
Yes, and
And
they're choosing
then-
like up to 5, I believe.
And then they find out, and we all find out
Yep.
what they've been recommended for.
Right, and then you do your fiddling with the academics, and then once that's set, it all goes into the computer who does
But then you
things.
might have, I think what you're saying is you might then want to have an opportunity to go back and relook at those electives based on,
The electives
you know,
aren't due
do-
until the 21st.
based on balance, based on,
Yeah, that's true, you're right, right, because there are some more academic electives, like World of Money, that is a more academic elective than vegetarian cuisine. Right, yeah, great, yeah.
Your timeline seems to indicate though that the academic recommendations will be out by the second.
But I don't know that you will be able to see it.
You mean
So,
without my kids?
the teacher, either, the teacher will input it, and whether they kind of run it so it's final or not, I don't know.
Override it if we don't find out.
One more time?
I would override it if we don't find out.
Oh, no, you will, sorry,
the
sorry.
28th.
I'm sorry.
On the
Yes, the 28th, students receive a hard copy of course requests.
That's the.
You will,
that's the
right,
date.
that is when
Definitely.
you know for sure what has kind of been said.
So we only have 28th to the 4th, really, technically.
You have a week, yeah.
That sounds good. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you're having an idea about, I mean, you know you're a student, right?
Do we get an email also? Or are we relying on our kids to bring a hard copy?
You're gonna go on portal also, yes.
So that's the idea, that your child will come home and say, you know what, my English teacher and I had a conversation today about, you know, whether I should take honor or standard, I have no idea, right? They'll do that between 7th or whatever, between today and the time that you act, hopefully.
Maybe
right?
I'll tell you, or you'll
Between
laugh.
today and the 28th, right? So, and then math will have the conversation next week, so it should all be a surprise on the
We can hear
28th.
about that stuff. It's just, it'd be good to know what the recommendations are.
Yes, the 28th, write it down, calendar input.
Great, so Melanie and I will hang out. We actually, in 15 minutes, have an assembly with your students. But we'll hang out here for another 15 minutes and answer any questions you have about course selection or otherwise. Great, thank you, Big.